Hello everyone, welcome to the next biology video, which is all about DNA structure. Now, if you look at the picture that's up on the screen, this is the structure of DNA. And we call that a double, put it up here, double helix. Now, if you imagine a ladder, and then you take the ends of that ladder and twist it, this is much what DNA looks like. Okay, and we're going to be looking at all the structures that make up DNA, those rungs in between and the side bits of our ladder, and see what they're all made of. So just a quick recap. Two gentlemen called Watson and Crick. They made, you can see them there, they made a model of DNA. They did lots of experiments, including the X-ray diffraction experiment there, and it showed a repeating pattern. So what they deduced from that was that DNA is made up of lots of molecules that repeat themselves. And eventually we did discover that DNA does in fact repeat itself all the way up and down the molecule. So we're going to be having a look at that and what molecules make up the DNA. Just before we do that, want to check you know about sizes and what fits where. So if we have a look here, here we've got our cell, and inside our cell we've got our nucleus. Now inside our nucleus we have chromosomes. Now remember, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes, but this just shows one chromosome, sorry. Now, that chromosome there, if we unravel it, because it's super coiled, it's super wound around itself, if we unravel it, this chromosome, and come over here, you will see the DNA molecule, and you'll see a section of the DNA is called a gene. So if you're ever asked the definition of a gene, it is a section of DNA. And then right at the bottom here, see this nucleotide. Now these are the repeating units that Watson and Crick were talking about. And they repeat over and over and over all the way up and down the DNA molecule. So let's have a look at those in a little bit more detail, but before we do, if you're ever asked size and which of these things on the screen is the biggest or the smallest, we'll go from the biggest. So the biggest one there is a cell, then a nucleus, then a chromosome, then a gene, then a DNA, and then nucleotide right at the end. Okay, so that's order of size. Right, let's have a look at these nucleotides in a bit more detail. So if we look here in the middle at our ladder here, this is a piece of DNA. And then if we take this small piece here from the rung of the ladder and enlarge it, we can see our repeating units called nucleotides. And your nucleotide here, if you can have a look, consists of three things. The blue sugar, now it's called here a deoxyribose sugar because DNA stands for deoxyribose nucleic acid. However, for your GCSE you can say sugar, that's absolutely fine. We also have this orange circle up here. That is a phosphate. And then we have this thing called a base. Now this green box here, a base, is this T that I've circled here. Okay. Now there's 4 different bases. And if you look over here on the side, they are named. However, we don't need to know the names, but we do need to know the abbreviation. So what have we got? We've got, where are we? G, C, T, and A. So you don't need to remember the long names, as long as you know the bases are G, C, T, and A. And they pair together. So if you have a look down this ladder here in the middle, we've got T joining with A and C joining with G. They always join with the same thing. So C joins G and A joins T. Now, there's different ways to remember this. The way I remember it is car goes in the garage and ants are termites. Okay, so C and G, A and T. There's lots of different ways of remembering, and that's just how I remember it. So what you need to be able to do from this slide, and if you want to pause it and write it down, that's absolutely fine. We've got the nucleotides, the 4 bases, and them joining together. Now we have got another phrase here, just see if I can get it in the right place here. Complementary base pairing. So if you're doing higher, complementary here doesn't mean complementary like you've got a lovely outfit on, or I like your car. Complementary here is spelt differently, it's got an E in the middle. This is different, this one. This has an E in the middle, complementary base pairing. And all that means is these bases complement each other. So we've got a C joins with G and A joins with T. And if you look at the ladder here in the middle, you can see the shapes. They're complementary shapes. One fits into the other. That's what that means, but that's just for higher, a complementary base pairing. Okay, very well done if you've got that far. Let's have a look at the next slide. So, describe in detail the structure of a DNA molecule. Now, so far, I've thrown in lots of different biology words. So what I'd like you to do is see if you can write down any of the key words to do with DNA. Pause the video and then we'll go through them, okay? Do that now. Right, hopefully you've had a little go at that. So, I'm sure there was lots and lots of words you came out with, and I'm sure you've got some on your paper. Let's have a look at the key words that we would need to put into this answer. This is 6 marks. So in biology, we're looking basically for 6 key words, each in a short sentence. And if you can't put them in a sentence, just the key words will get you some marks. So don't ever leave it blank if you've got some key words in your head. Okay? So these are the words that we would be looking for. Double helix. So congratulations if you got that one. Nucleotides. Well done if you got that one. And if you went into describing nucleotides as well, you could have sugar. Phosphate group. Base. Okay, because this is the structure of a DNA molecule, remember. 4 bases, A, T, C, and G. 2 strands are held together by hydrogen bonds. I didn't talk about that, but that is an extra one if you want it, but it's not directly in the syllabus. And right down here, near the bottom, complementary base pairing. So, we've got the possibility here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 7 or 8 marks here. So well done. If you got 3 of those, that's amazing, because if this is new particularly. So double helix, made of nucleotides. We've got sugars, phosphate groups, and a base. A, T, G, and C are the bases, held together by hydrogen bonds. And complementary base pairing. If you can't remember that word, you can say A joins with T and G joins with C. Remember, cars in the garage, so C and G go together. And then ants are termites, so A and T go together. Okay, so you've done really well if you've got up to that point. Now, here's one of those questions. Exam question. This is a level 4 or 5, so it could come up in foundation or higher. Put these in order of size from the smallest to the largest. Okay, so you must always check which way round it is. So we've got DNA, gene, nucleus, chromosome, cell. So have a little go at putting them in order and then we'll have a look. Okay, hopefully you've had a little go. Let's see what the answer is. So DNA is the smallest because it's the smallest molecule, then gene, then chromosome, then nucleus, then the cell. If you wanted biggest to smallest, obviously you do them the other way around. Always check what the question is, read it carefully, whether it wants small to big or big to small. Right, we now have an exam question. Oops. Okay, so you should instantly, if you saw this exam question, recognise this here as a piece of DNA. Hopefully. What gives it away is the T and A and the C and G. So, the nucleus of a cell contains DNA. Yes, we know that. Name the structures inside the cell nucleus that contain DNA. So, have a little go. They are, hopefully you got this, chromosomes. Okay, so they're inside the nucleus. They contain chromosomes. Right, next bit of the question, I'll have to flip the slide, so let's go to the next one. Name the part of the DNA molecule labelled X. Right, so where are we? Here, X. Over here, and it is pointing to our little pentagon here. So have a go. Hopefully you wrote down something, oh, wrong place, something like sugar. Well, that wasn't very good, was it? Let's do that again. Sugar, that's better. Okay. What type of substances are labelled A, C, G and T in the figure? So let's go back and have a look. Now, you can probably do this without looking at it, but they are the bases. Okay, and they're there in the middle. So on our question here, we are going to put bases. All right, so very well done if you got that. Make sure you know all of the parts of the DNA structure. Make sure you know the phosphate, the base, which base pairs with which base, etc. Right, we'll stop there. That's the end of that video. Keywords, please, keywords. Get yourself a revision card and write down structure of DNA and all those keywords that we did today. Okay, very well done. See you on the next one, everyone.